feeding time. It might mean some insects that your mother brings to you. It might mean fresh fish that you have to catch for yourself. What you eat all depends on who you are. For instance, let's say you live on a farm. You know what you'd eat if you were a farmer. But what if you were a cow? What would you eat? Corn and grass. If you're a cow, you're a plant-eating animal. But suppose you were a pig. Well, pigs aren't choosy. They eat milk and meat and corn and other grains. Pigs are both meat and plant eaters. Pigs aren't usually pets, but you might be a pet on a farm. Suppose you were the farm cat. Cats are fed many things that people eat: milk, meat, and fish. But if you hunted for food on your own, you'd hunt for mice. Cats are meat eaters. But maybe you'd rather be this kind of cat, a bobcat. Then you'd be a wild animal, not a tame one. And you could catch animals a lot bigger than mice, rabbits, for instance. And probably, no one would want you for a pet. But don't think that all wild animals are meat eaters. If you were a beaver having lunch, what do you think you might be eating? Well, plant roots and stems probably, and maybe some bark for dessert. That would be a good meal for you because a beaver is a plant-eating animal. And so is a moose. But if you were a moose, you'd have to eat tender leaves and grass because your teeth aren't as sharp as beaver's teeth. You'd have the same problem if you were a deer. Except it isn't really a problem, even for a baby deer. There's plenty of tender grass for you to eat. Of course, when winter comes, then it's harder for you and other plant eaters to find food. Then maybe you'd wish you had teeth as sharp as beavers. How would you like to be this baby? When you grew up, you'd be one of the tallest animals on Earth. That's what giraffes are. But to be the heaviest plant eater in the world, this is what you'd have to be: an elephant, the biggest land animal there is. You know how much the food you'd eat in one day would weigh? More than 100 kilograms. And just plants, too. But only a tiny bit of that could feed you if you were a chipmunk. Of course, then you'd be a lot smaller than the elephant. Chipmunks like to eat flowers and fruits and other parts of plants. Of course, one tiny bite at a time. If you were a little bird like this goldfinch, then you'd eat parts of plants, too. The seeds. Your beak would be just right for cracking the shells. A bee. Ever thought of being one? Know what you'd eat? Not nectar from the flowers. You just use your long tongue to get the nectar out of a flower. Later, you'd make the nectar into honey. And that's what bees eat. Honey they make themselves. But most animals don't make their own food like bees do. If you were a grasshopper living out in a meadow, you'd have to find plants to eat, just like the cows do. Even though your mouth is tiny, you grasshoppers have strong jaws. See what I mean? And you can do that without teeth. But a grasshopper is an insect. Mammals that eat plants need teeth for chewing their food. Remember when you were a cow? These are the kinds of teeth you had. Cows have front teeth that are used for cutting off parts of plants like grass. A cow's back teeth are flat. They grind up the food. Plant eaters like cows have to do a lot of chewing. Meat eaters like these little swallows don't. If you were a swallow, you could swallow a whole insect in one big gulp. Birds don't have teeth. Not even birds that eat fish. But some have sharp beaks. If you were a water bird, you'd probably have a long, strong beak that would help you catch fish. Unless you were a pelican and your beak was also built with a scoop that helped you scoop fish out of the water. Pelicans are pretty good at fishing. They have to be, of course, if they want to eat. Now, here we have a different kind of meat eating. But if you were a vulture like these birds, then you'd only eat animals after they were dead. You'd do the same if you were a coyote. Of course, a coyote isn't a bird, it's a mammal. Now, this mammal likes its meat fresh. Lions, of course, are meat eaters. If you were a lion, do you know what your favorite meats would be? Antelope and zebra. Meat-eating mammals usually have strong jaws and sharp teeth. If you were a dog, you'd notice how good your teeth and jaws were for gnawing and chewing bones. Even though you didn't always eat meat, your teeth would be like the teeth of most meat-eating mammals. You'd have long pointed front teeth that tear the meat, and sharp back teeth that let you chew the meat and bones. So there are some animals that mainly eat meat, and some that mainly eat plants, and some that aren't too particular, like ducks that eat insects and frogs and fish. They're in the meat department, and seeds too, which are from plants. And do you know what helps you ducks eat? Your beaks. A duck's beak is wide and sort of flat. It's built to help you dive and catch food underwater. Now, raccoons don't have beaks, but if you were a raccoon, you wouldn't mind. You'd catch food with your paws, and you'd eat almost anything that came your way, frogs and turtles, or fruits and insects. But you'd probably wash your food first if you were near water. But you know that, if you're a raccoon. Well, you haven't been a cardinal, but you've been lots of other birds, and you've seen the sorts of foods they eat. There are meat-eating birds and plant-eating birds, and birds that eat both kinds of food, like robins. And like all animals, birds need food for the same reasons you do. You can't grow without food. You can't live without food. Neither can birds. The beaks of birds help them eat, and the teeth of mammals help them eat. And mammals eat all kinds of food. Some are just plant eaters, some are just meat eaters, and some eat both. All kinds of animals that eat all kinds of food. Plant eaters with flat grinding teeth, meat eaters with pointed tearing teeth, and animals that eat both plants and animals. Say, what kind of teeth do they have?